welcome to this very special live edition of The Weekend Show, where we will be taking advantage of the moment that Joe Biden speaks to the nation from the Oval Office. That is due at 8 p.m. Eastern in around 14 minutes from now. We hope that he is on time. He's expected to stress a message of unity while pointing out his belief that Donald Trump's agenda is bad for the country. This is what's been reported by Reuters, citing a briefing from a Biden campaign official, so we never know exactly what he's going to say. But they are also reporting that Biden's re-election campaign has quickly upended its strategy, is calling off verbal attacks on the former president to focus instead on a message of unity. And that is very much the message that Joe Biden has referenced every time that he has taken to the podium in the last couple of days. So, that is something that is obviously essential for a nation that right now is reaching out and kind of calling for some kind of connection, because I think that it's at moments like this that we really do get a sense that the country needs leadership and needs direction. And so that is what we hope to hear from Joe Biden tonight as we bring you this special coverage here on Midas Touch. So normally in the weekend show, we interview some of the great thinkers from this country and around the world. And next week we'll be back to that format. And please do go back through the weekend show archive and take a look at some of the material that we have presented over the last couple of years, where we have these essential conversations. Today, the essential conversation that's being had across America is the focus on this suspect named as Thomas Matthew Crooks, who was also killed by the police in this shooting at the Pennsylvania rally. We've heard Donald Trump has had a conversation with Joe Biden, apparently a very good conversation, and nearly 24 hours after what FBI officials called an assassination attempt at the campaign rally in Pennsylvania, law enforcement officials said they have not yet identified a motive for the attack. They named the suspect Thomas Matthew Crooks, a 20-year-old white Republican, registered Republican, voted last in the midterms in 2022, and they said that he is believed to have acted alone. They said, at present, we've not identified an ideology associated with the subject, but we want to remind everybody that we're still very early in this investigation. This is from FBI Special Agent in Charge Kevin Rojek. The FBI did not currently have an identified motive, although our investigators are working tirelessly to attempt to identify what that motive was. Well, the FBI is combing through the suspect's social media feeds, but so far has not found any threatening writing or social media posts. At least one official, or one social media platform popular with gamers known as Discord, said the suspect had an account but was not particularly active, and so I think that might be a bit of a red herring. The suspect's employer, the Bethel Park Skilled Nursing and Rehabilitation Center, said in a statement that he performed his job without concern and his background check was clean. And that is why it's so interesting, isn't it? Because often with these lone wolf gunmen, their ideology is quite private. And sometimes they write down a manifesto and they leave it to be found. We haven't got to that stage yet here, but sometimes it is quite surprising, the thinking and the ideology of these individuals. And this is why I think it's important we recognize that, it is weird that a registered Republican would want to take a shot at the Republican leader, the presidential candidate for the Republican Party, Donald Trump. And that really is the burning question on everybody's mind. And that is why there is so much misinformation and opinion floating around the ether regarding this particular incident. So the FBI have said they're investigating it as a potential act of domestic terrorism, defined as an action inside the U.S. that is intended to intimidate or coerce civilians or influence government policy. The absence of a clear ideological motive added to the deepening questions about the shooting, they've said, denying the public any swift or tidy conclusions about the shocking attack. Well, I want to talk about this T-shirt that this man was wearing. It was identified through its design as merchandise from a YouTube channel known as Demolition Ranch. Now, this is a channel with 11.6 million subscribers. It's all about guns. It's all about weapons of war. And this clearly must be a channel that this guy has watched if he's wearing the T-shirt. And as we know, guns and AR-15 style assault weapons are very much part of the MAGA Republican movement. We've seen Congress people wearing pins on their lapels and on their ties. But it's also a weapon that the Democrats are very keen to ban. There is no reason why anybody would need one of these weapons. And here we have this young man able to access one, the rumors that it may have been his father's weapon, and he then climbed this roof and took a shot at Donald Trump. I just want to take a look at one of the videos from this channel, Demolition Ranch, so you can see the kind of attitude that people seem to have towards these weapons of war that for those of us who are not involved with firearms, we might find quite shocking. But just so you can see how this young man may have been swayed by the attitude and the rhetoric towards these firearms. Let's take a look.
Yep. I told Nick that I like AR-15s more. Nick told me that he liked AK-47s more. And I was like, we gotta settle this right here, right now. Well, 4 days later.
4 days later.
So today we're bringing you something the internet has never seen. Okay, the internet's seen these videos before. AK-47 versus AR-15. But the difference with this video is we're gonna finally put it to rest and figure out which one is the better gun. Here's the table, guys. It's beautiful, right? We're gonna start with the AR-15 side. And so this is sort of it's just an example of what you can do with an AR-15. It's a little out there. This is a setup for competition. It's skeletonized. We have a carbon fiber barrel. It's a very modified version of the original AR-15.
I love this, man. This looks like, gosh.
It's got an extra long magazine on it.
It feels good, too. I like that handle. I like that, man.
I love that gun.
It's slim. I like slimness.
So this is an example of the kind of material that we presume Thomas Matthew Crooks would have been looking at. And you'll see that the attitude towards these guns is such that, you know, they love it. You know, personally, I would be terrified, but these people seem to love these guns. Their ownership of these guns is perfectly normal, and that's why when the fear of Democrats coming to take your guns is used as rhetoric by MAGA Republicans and Donald Trump especially, then of course there is resistance towards that. It's not true, but that is the kind of political rhetoric. And so, you know, in the coming days and weeks as this investigation becomes clearer, we will get a sense of where that gun came from and why, which is the burning question, why this young 20-year-old registered Republican decided to go to a Trump rally, climb the roof of a building opposite outside the fairground perimeter, and fire shots at Donald Trump. Narrowly missing him. We don't know whether it was the bullet that hit him in the ear or whether it was some shrapnel maybe from the teleprompter or something else that caught Donald Trump's ear. But tragically, somebody was killed directly behind, and two others are in a critical condition in hospital. We're going to take a quick break now. We're going to come back and expect to hear from President Joe Biden live from the Oval Office as he addresses the nation in light of this attempted attack on Donald Trump. Living a more heart-healthy life fuels everything you do. Introducing 3-in-1 blood pressure support plus COQ10 from Superbeats Heart Chews Advanced. Paired with a healthy lifestyle, the grapeseed extract in Superbeats is clinically shown to be nearly 2 times more effective at promoting normal blood pressure than a healthy lifestyle alone. New Superbeats Heart Chews Advanced support healthy COQ2 levels, an important nutrient for your heart health. CoQ10 generates 95% of the cellular energy that your heart needs, but it can decline with age, stress, and statin use. Heart-healthy energy can now come without the crash. Superbeats Heart Chews also support healthy circulation without stimulants. Find out how you can get a free 30-day supply on bundles of new Superbeats Heart Chews Advanced and save 15% for a limited time only by going to superbeatsradio.com and use the promo code WEEKEND. That's SuperBeets radio.com with the promo code WEEKEND. I've always found it difficult to find clothes that I like to wear, and when I find one thing that works, I just buy loads of them and just wear the same thing all the time. Well, men's closets were due for a radical reinvention, and Rhone stepped up to the challenge. Rhone's commuter collection is the most comfortable, breathable, and flexible set of products known to man. And here's why. Rhone helps you get ready for any occasion. The commuter collection offers the world's most comfortable pants, dress shirts, zips, and polos. You'll never have to worry about what to wear when you've got the Rhone commuter collection. The comfortable four-way stretch fabric provides breathability and flexibility that leaves you free to enjoy what life throws your way, from your commute to work or your 18 holes of golf. It's time to feel confident without the hassle. With Rhone's wrinkle release technology, wrinkles disappear as you stretch and wear the products. It's that easy. And with Gold Fusion anti-odor technology, you'll be smelling fresh and clean all day long. And on top of that, Rhone is 100% machine washable, so you can ditch the dry cleaner altogether. I personally love a technical fabric, something that is advanced and uses technology to make a more comfortable and more modern outfit. Now, the commuter collection can get you through any workday and straight into whatever comes next. So head to rhone.com/Anthony and use promo code Anthony to save 20% off your entire order. That's 20% off your entire order when you head to rhone.com/Anthony and use code Anthony, ANTHONY. It's time to find your corner office comfort. We're back on this special edition of the Weekend Show as we await President Joe Biden, who will be addressing the nation in light of the assassination attempt of the disgraced former president, Donald Trump. I would just point out at this juncture that the reaction to this attempted assassination has been quite varied. From Democrats, obviously, they have been condemning any kind of political violence as is appropriate, and we've heard that from leaders right around the world, sending their best wishes to Donald Trump, their thoughts to those who were injured and indeed killed in this attack. But also a very tempered and civil reaction, because ultimately that is what is required at this moment. Republicans, on the other hand, were very quick to blame Joe Biden, to blame Democrats, and to claim that this was some kind of conspiracy that was set up and that Joe Biden is to blame, which is, of course, completely ridiculous. But I thought I'd just point out some of the things that Republicans had been saying and posting, and just the way that they've been handling the response to this. For example, Dinesh D'Souza posted that female agents have no clue, talking about the Secret Service, as that female agent kind of shielded Donald Trump and suggested that it was for DEI purposes and only 30% for 30% a recruitment goal for the Secret Service, which is crazy. Elon Musk posted his support for Donald Trump. He's been pretty quiet about it for many months. He's, teasing it, and then, of course, he comes out for Donald Trump when the guy gets shot. And he actually supported a post suggesting the gunman is Antifa, which should be labeled a terrorist organization. Well, as you know, Antifa stands for anti-fascist, and hopefully we are all anti-fascist. Antifa is not an organization. It has no HQ or membership. It is a phrase that has been created by the right to demonize people who are pro-democracy. And that is the tragedy of modern America, the division and the polarization that has created so much hatred and hate speech, even in the aftermath of an attempted assassination on the Republican candidate for president. Let's not forget that when it comes to inciting violence, Donald Trump has been very much at the helm of a lot of this language, aside from January 6, where he encouraged a mob to come to the Capitol and to, if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore, and, you know, taking it back and using all of this language. Let's not forget Charlottesville, where he referred to fine people on both sides. The reason that Joe Biden came out of retirement and decided to run for president when he heard Donald Trump again supporting neo-Nazis and having this view that no president of the United States should hold. And then we've also kind of heard, you know, weird things from governors and from Congress people saying things like, you know, Joe Biden ordered this, from senior Republicans. People like J.D. Vance, for example, who even is
My fellow Americans,
a potential
I want to speak to you
VP.
tonight about the need
Let's
for us
now
to
go to
lower
the
the
Oval
temperature in our
Office.
politics. And to remember, while we may disagree, we are not enemies. We're neighbors. We're friends, co-workers, citizens, and most importantly, we're fellow Americans. We must stand together. Yesterday's shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania calls on all of us to take a step back. Take stock of where we are, how we go forward from here. Thankfully, former Trump is not seriously injured. I spoke with him last night. I'm grateful. He's doing well, and Jill and I keep him and his family in our prayers. We also extend our deepest condolences to the family of the victims who was killed. Corey was a husband, a father, a volunteer firefighter, a hero, sheltering his family from those bullets. We should all hold his family and all those injured in our prayers. Earlier today, I spoke about an ongoing investigation. We do not know the motive of the shooter yet. We don't know his opinions or affiliations. We don't know whether he had help or support, or if he communicated with anyone else. Law enforcement professionals, as I speak, are investigating those questions. Tonight, I want to speak to what we do know. A former president was shot, an American citizen killed, while simply exercising his freedom to support the candidate of his choosing. We cannot, we must not go down this road in America. We've traveled it before throughout our history. Violence has never been the answer. Whether it's with members of Congress of both parties being targeted and shot, or a violent mob attacking the Capitol on January 6th, or a brutal attack on the spouse of former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, or information and intimidation on election officials, or the kidnapping plot against the sitting governor, or an attempted assassination on Donald Trump. There is no place in America for this kind of violence, or for any violence ever. Period. No exceptions. We can't allow this violence to be normalized. You know, the political record in this country has gotten very heated. It's time to cool it down. We all have a responsibility to do that. Yes, we have deeply felt strong disagreements. The stakes in this election are enormously high. I've said it many times that the choice in this election we make in this election is going to shape the future of America and the world for decades to come. I believe that with all my soul. I know that millions of my fellow Americans believe it as well. And some have a different view as to the direction our country should take. Disagreement is inevitable in American democracy. It's part of human nature. But politics must never be a literal battlefield, and God forbid, a killing field. I believe politics ought to be an arena for peaceful debate, to pursue justice, to make decisions guided by the Declaration of Independence and our Constitution. We stand for an America, not of extremism and fury, but of decency and grace. All of us now face the time of testing as the election approaches. And the higher the stakes, the more fervent the passions become. This places an added burden on each of us to ensure that no matter how strong our convictions, we must never descend into violence. The Republican convention will start tomorrow. I have no doubt they'll criticize my record and offer their own vision for this country. I'll be traveling this week making the case for our record and the vision, my vision of the country, our vision. I'll continue to speak out strongly for our democracy, stand up for our Constitution and the rule of law, to call for action at the ballot box, no violence on our streets. That's how democracy should work. We debate and disagree. We compare and contrast the character of the candidates, the records, the issues, the agenda, the vision for America. But in America, we resolve our differences at the battle box. You know, that's how we do it, at the battle box, not with bullets. The power to change America should always rest in the hands of the people, not in the hands of a would-be assassin. You know, the path forward through competing visions of the campaign should always be resolved peacefully, not through acts of violence. You know, we're blessed to live in the greatest country on earth, and I believe that with every soul, every power of my being. So tonight, I'm asking every American to recommit, to make America, think about it. What's made America so special? Here in America, everyone must be treated with dignity and respect, and hate must have no safe harbor. Here in America, we need to get out of our silos, where we only listen to those with whom we agree, where misinformation is rampant, where foreign actors fan the flames of our division to shape the outcomes consistent with their interests, not ours. Let's remember, here in America, while unity is the most elusive of all goals right now, nothing is more important for us now than standing together. We can do this. You know, from the beginning, our founders understood the power of passion. So they created democracy that gave reason and balance a chance to prevail over brute force. That's the American we must be. An American democracy where arguments are made in good faith. An American democracy where the rule of law is respected. An American democracy where decency, dignity, fair play aren't just quaint notions, but living, breathing realities. We owe that to those who come before us, to those who gave their lives for this country. We owe that to ourselves. We owe it to our children and our grandchildren. Look, let's never lose sight of who we are. Let's remember we are the United States of America. There is nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.
President Joe Biden from the Oval Office, lending his leadership and his thoughts to this very serious moment in American political history. Of course, a president or former president has not been shot at since Ronald Reagan in 1981. And, you know, that was, 43 years ago. And so that's why the feelings are ricocheting around the US and around the world as we react and as we try to digest what has happened in the last 24 hours. Joe Biden was very clear to make the point that democracy, American democracy, does not include the attempted assassination of political candidates. He made the point that the whole point of a modern democracy is political discourse where you can disagree. And he referred to these information silos, these separate places where people get their information, or in many cases misinformation, and why it is so important that we come together to communicate and to really expose our views and engage in healthy political debate. And that he made the point that bullets, not, the ballot box and not bullets, is the way to go about expressing your democratic rights here in the United States. So I thought it was a very powerful and very presidential speech. What the country needs right now is leadership, and Joe Biden certainly brought that. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back with more analysis here on the Midas Touch Network.
10 seconds on the clock. How many things can you name that are always growing? Your relationships, your skills, your customer base? How about businesses on Shopify? When we started podcasting, an online store was the furthest thing from our minds. Now we're selling t-shirts and Midas Touch merch, and it's so easy, all because we use Shopify. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business, from the launch of your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the "did we just hit 1 million orders" stage. Shopify is there to help you grow. Whether you're delivering daily digests or serving sensational scoops, Shopify will help you sell everywhere. From their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person point-of-sale system, wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout, up to 36% better compared to other leading commerce platforms. And sell more with less effort thanks to Shopify Magic, your AI-powered all-star. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the US. And Shopify is the global force behind Allbirds and Rothney's and Brooklinen and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries. Plus, Shopify's extensive help resources are there to support your success at every step of the way, because businesses that grow, grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/weekend. Go to shopify.com/weekend now to grow your business no matter what stage you're in. That's shopify.com/weekend. I'm excited to tell you about Moink. That's Moo plus Oink. Moink is a meat subscription box company on a mission to fight for the family farm. They're located in rural America, run by an 8th-generation female farmer. Their animals are raised humanely, their employees are paid a living wage, and the quality of their product is better than anything you'll find in a store. Moink delivers grass-fed and grass-finished beef and lamb, pastured pork and chicken, and sustainable wild-caught Alaskan salmon straight to your door. I've received one of these boxes, and I can verify that the quality of the food was excellent, and it tasted delicious too. Keep American farming going by signing up at moinkbox.com/weekend now, and listeners of this show get free bacon for a year. That's 1 year of the best bacon you'll ever taste, but for a limited time. Spelled MOINK box.com/weekend. That's moinkbox.com/weekend. And you can find links to our sponsors in the description below. I'm Anthony Davis. This is a special live edition of The Weekend Show as we respond to the President Joe Biden's address to the nation from the Oval Office, which he spoke in a very measured and respectful way. He said he was sincerely grateful that Donald Trump was doing well after the assassination attempt. He said, I'm grateful he's doing well and recovering. He had a short phone call with Donald Trump. He also expressed sadness over the killing of a 50-year-old father who died at the rally while protecting his family from bullets. And that man was confirmed as Corey Comprator, a former fire chief of the Buffalo Township Volunteer Fire Company in Pennsylvania. He was shot and killed amidst the assassination attempt, and his sister said he was a hero that shielded his daughter. His wife and girls lived through the unthinkable and unimaginable. And so thoughts with the family of not just him, but also those two who are in a critical condition as the hospitals take care of those who are injured at the rally in Pennsylvania. We are uncertain as to, waiting for the report as to find out whether Donald Trump was hit directly with a bullet as he claimed, or whether it was a ricochet of shrapnel or something that caught his ear. There was certainly a photograph that we saw of a bullet flying towards his head. And if that turns out to be accurate, then he was certainly very lucky to be alive. It seemed he just turned his head in a moment, and in that moment, the bullet just shot past him. And so this undoubtedly is very serious because it was so very close. And no matter what your political persuasion, You will not wish any harm on the former president. As we know, the whole point of a modern democracy is that people are allowed to express their political views, and ultimately the electorate decides on polling day at the polling place. And that is something that Americans will be doing in November. And so the stakes are that much higher. Of course, there was pressure just a few days ago on Joe Biden, pressure for him to consider his position after his difficult debate. And that has kind of subsided because Democrats came together. Joe Biden put on some very excellent performances in the preceding days. And even tonight, hearing that speech from the Oval Office just goes to prove that he is a very capable president and is doing the job now. And I suppose that really is the crux of this argument, isn't it? That people are concerned, is Joe Biden up to it? And all I would say is, well, Joe Biden is doing it. He has been the president for the last 3.5 years. The country is in a better position than it's been in a long time. And we're seeing growth, we're seeing inflation come down, and we're also seeing a record stock market at the moment too. So undoubtedly, Joe Biden's tenure as president has been a successful one. But of course, with misinformation and detractors and the kind of angry, kind of volatile hate speech from the right and the far right, there is always an air of concern. And I think that it's important that certainly after this attempted assassination on Donald Trump, that people reconvene, come together and recognize that in Joe Biden we have a strong leader who has dealt with this incident like the greatest of presidents. I also wanted to mention, we were talking a little earlier just before Joe Biden's address about some of the negative propaganda that has been put out by MAGA Republicans and people who are supporters of Donald Trump and some of the hatred and the negativity surrounding this event. Of course, it's very hard for people to understand why a young white man, a registered Republican with access to an assault weapon like this would choose to point it at Donald Trump. And yet he did. And that is what is so complex about this entire conversation and this period in American political history, because it seems confusing. It seems like, he's shooting at the wrong guy. Now, without speculating, we don't have a report yet on who this man or what this man stood for. But I think it's important to recognize that multiple things can be true at the same time. And that, Donald Trump himself is a very divisive character. His views of Democrats, the language he uses about Democrats, not just the hate speech towards minority groups, but also the hate speech towards his other political candidates, referring to Joe Biden as decrepit and as aged, despite just being 3 years younger himself. And the problem with this type of hate speech and this negative rhetoric is it eventually has an effect. It has an effect on people, on individuals, whether it be on lone wolf gunmen, or creating a kind of negative mood. And Donald Trump's attitude from the very beginning is that America is broken and the country is terrible and that, he alone can fix it. And I always find it, interesting when people at his rallies are interviewed and they're asked, when was America last great, if you want to make it great again? And they talk about a time decades ago when, women didn't even have access to the vote, let alone to abortion. They always ignore the 4 years that Donald Trump was president. Was America not great when he was president? And that really is the point that we should make, that Donald Trump has proven, and let's not forget what life was like during his presidency, with a wall of steel built around the White House and with the National Guard on the street and with protests and women's marches and Black Lives Matter protests, people angry at the policies and the hate speech from Donald Trump. And I often talk about Portland, where there was that peaceful Black Lives Matter protest where Donald Trump sent in an army of I don't even know who, of military personnel. We don't know where they came from or what they represented. They weren't wearing any identification. They were driving unmarked vehicles, and they were disappearing American citizens off the streets of Portland. That is what Donald Trump's America was like. And it's only going to be worse the next time if he was to win the presidency, simply because his enablers now will be the people that he has around him, and there won't be others who are, as we saw last time, who held him back. And so we would see a very different America if Project 2025 and Donald Trump's Agenda 47 is allowed to take place. So, just finally, I would say that, from President Joe Biden tonight, we've heard some leadership, we've been given direction, and that is not to continue this kind of negative back and forth. He's asking people to bring down the temperature and to remember that U.S. democracy is paramount, and the only way to have a country that is successful both politically and socially is for us all to get on with each other. I'm Anthony Davis. Thanks for joining this special episode of The Weekend Show. I'll be back next Sunday with a very special guest. Hopefully you'll join me then. Have a good night.